This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio.
Yes, thank you, Wally. Welcome to Volunteer Park. We're in Hawick, the heart of Hawick, and it's the Hawick Linden Sevens. We're absolutely delighted that this has come back after about 5 years, and with me is Kieran Murphy, who's the Vice President of the club and also the organiser, or the Chief Organiser, let's say, 'cause there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. But my goodness, Kieran, it's quite an effort, and at last, I suppose, a big relief for you at 1 o'clock, seeing that the game kicked off and everything's working fine.
It's calming down a bit now. It's a bit nervous this morning. Everything was got gone all right, but gone by the turnout so far and the weather and everything set up, I'm chilled out a bit more now.
That's brilliant. Well, we're already in the middle of the first tie. It's we'll tell you who's all in the pools, etc. But it looks like Hawick Force are going to go in for another try. That'll be their fifth, in fact. And this time, I think that looks like Finlay Douglas has gone over. Yes, it is. Finlay Douglas has scored that. It's currently Hawick Force 29, Galloway M 0. This is Pool A, the first tie. Keen Riddle, the captain, trying to score the conversion, doesn't manage it, so it remains 29 points to 0. Then it will be Walkerburn against Hawick Linden. Those are the four teams in Pool A. In Pool B, it's Duns against Haddington and Langham against Hawick Harlequin. So each team will be playing each other, so guaranteed three matches for everybody.
It's 3 matches for everybody. We thought it being a pre-season tournament, it was probably the best way to go. We originally thought 12 teams would have been the way to do it, but after speaking with everyone, this just seemed the plan that most wanted to go with 15s coming up. They kind of wanted more numbers involved, more minutes, etc. So I think so far everything looks like it's set to go and in plan. So.
That's fantastic. So tell us your story, because you were playing for Hawick Linden this time last year, and sadly there's a triple leg break, was it? And that's your career over, just like that.
Career over, split second, hit a step somebody, leg right in the side of my leg. I went one way, leg went the other, and before I knew it, originally thought it was a double leg break, but I noticed a slight fracture doing my shin as well after it, but everything seemed to heal up and that okay. But unfortunately, 8 months down the line, I'm still not back running yet. I'm struggling to walk. I'm waking up sore, so it's just one of the things. You have to step to the side and let everybody else have a shot. But I'm still involved with the club, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, but we've seen some people come back from broken legs and play rugby again, but this is probably the warning, is it, saying no, it's not really for you this time?
I think this is one injury too far. I previously retired. I only actually came back last season. After a couple of years away with another injury, came back, everything was going alright, it was going really well, I was enjoying my rugby, enjoying playing, being back around the club again. I was always around the club, but back more in the fold, and I think this is my body telling us now that enough's enough.
But you are putting all that energy into what you're doing now behind the scenes for Hawick Linden, and you've organised this tournament as well. You organised a Blackpool trip, I believe, for the boys, and they're going to send them to Portugal as well soon.
Portugal, aye.
They've got a lot to thank you for here.
Aye, so we kind of decided last year. I was like, we're going to try and get a big tour every couple of years. So decided maybe start of last year we'll try and sort something out. So we went down to Blackpool and we played Blackpool Rugby Club. Had a great result down there. The boys were all really rough. We'd been out the night before and turned up at Blackpool, and I don't think I've ever seen them play as well. But
is that the new way of going ahead in East League? Is it?
Well, I wish I went out last night. They'd have probably done well today, but which is good, still do. But it was brilliant, and obviously with Portugal, I think it's something every club needs. They need a big weekend or something away with the boys, and it just makes all their hard work worth it when they can go enjoy it themselves at the end of the season. And that's what we want. Again, some of the boys haven't even been abroad before, so that's got to be new for a few of them.
And that's really important for any club, isn't it? To get the social, get your mates playing, playing for you, and that bond, which is so important.
You have to find the right balance between playing, wanting to win. Obviously, every club wants to win, but you need to find the balance off the park as well. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the boys below the national leagues, they're not got to go play for Scotland. They're not got to be superstars. So they want to enjoy the rugby. They want to enjoy what they're doing every weekend, and that's the main thing. If you're not enjoying playing sport, it becomes more of a chore, and you really don't want that. If it becomes a chore, then you shouldn't be playing. So that's what we want to put out with the Linden, is a nice positive vibe around the club, and want everyone to enjoy themselves.
So play hard off the pitch, play hard on the pitch.
Exactly, aye. Just like I say, it's just finding that right balance, and I think that's certainly where we're heading anyways at this club right now.
Well, sadly you got relegated. It was just a restructuring more than anything else, wasn't it? So you found yourself in East League 3, which all starts I think on September the 7th, isn't it, for the East League?
Aye.
Yeah, because you've got a bowl I think match before that, or possibly. Haven't really studied the fixtures yet. It still seems like pre-season, but which of course it is. But you're going to be in with Duns and Earlston and also
Galloway,
of course, who are playing at the moment right in front of my eyes. So that's going to be interesting because you're going to get lots of border derbies, which has to enhance the league for you.
It's brilliant. Like, noticed even like we played Duns last season in the league and Lagan pre-season, in Galloway, Earlston, and the numbers. You notice a difference in the numbers because when you get teams coming down from Edinburgh or afar, you don't really see the travelling support. And I think when it's a border derby, like especially when we go to clubs, we certainly try and take a full bus full, a few people down in cars, etc. But you always go to these border clubs, and the amount of people at the games are slightly higher than Edinburgh. I think especially in Edinburgh as well, I think a lot of folk avoid the smaller clubs. I think they kind of just go away to like the bigger teams, and obviously you've got football teams and professional teams up there as well, which draft a lot of numbers away, whereas down here this is kind of the focus to some people's Saturdays, like your rugby that's on round here. So with them playing each other, it brings in a crowd, and that's what you want. You want everybody playing in front of folk, cheering them on. That's what we want. And
it's so hard to keep clubs together these days, as you know. And at the moment, you've got Hawick, you've got Hawick Force, you've got Hawick Quinge, you've got Hawick Linden in there as well. So I mean, there's a lot of players that need to be accommodated for all the clubs. How do you manage it at Linden?
Well, what we're trying to say now is, obviously, you get probably 2-3 players going away at end every season. So our aim's to bring 2-3 boys in every year for the under 18s, or we've had a couple of older heads come back this season, which has been key because that's what we've really lacked the last few years, is kind of having somebody with a bit more maturity and kind of knows the game. So we've had Graham Colville, Stephen Bouglis, Rory Hume and Thomas Anderson come back, and kind of in their 30s, which is key for us. And I think that's mainly to do with probably jumping to the third division, is because they probably feel like their bodies might be a bit more able in that league compared to. I'm not saying that there will be great players in that league. There's obviously boys for Earlston who are just committed to playing for Earlston, etc. But I think that's key. Even if you can get 40 minutes out of them on a Saturday, and really, especially Graham, he's really looking to try and coach somebody into that number 8 role. So a couple of young boys, that's what we need. We need them getting coached off the older boys, and then if so be it, they're good and they progress to Hawick, that's fine. If they've got an achievement, that's what they want to achieve, then they can move on. We're just here to kind of be that first step for youth to men's rugby, because it is big going for the under 18s to then go and playing for a National League side, Premiership side. It's a big jump.
Absolutely. Well, you've got your work cut out today. It's a lovely sunshine anyway, which is marvellous to see. It's currently 43-0 to Hawick Force at the moment, so against Galloway. This is the first tie. Coming up next is Walkerburn against Hawick Linden. That's also in Pool A. In Pool B then it's Duns against Haddington and Langham against Hawick Harlequins, and then the second games start. So we'll be keeping you up to date throughout the afternoon. I think we're going to be on air again in about a couple of hours time at 3:10, so we'll have a chat then and update you live from the Hawick Linden Sevens.
This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio. A lovely day. The sun's shining has brought a tremendous crowd out. It's really great to see so many folk here, and they're all sitting watching the rugby, having a wee drink, something to eat. It's fantastic.
It's a lovely Saturday afternoon, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So how was your I was going to say your closed season. Don't suppose it closed, really, did it?
For me it did. No, I like to get a wee break myself, because it can be quite full on through the course of the season. But no, the boys started training a few weeks ago, and I think we've had good numbers. So we're gunning to try and get ourselves back up out East 3, because we were obviously really disappointed to go down last year.
What happened there? Because it was more of a restructure, isn't it? And Hawick Linden went down because of that, is that correct?
It was, yeah. I mean, in East 2, originally one team was to go down, and Duns, unfortunately, they were kind of cast adrift at the bottom, so the expectancy was that it would be Duns that would go down. We were second bottom, but what happened, I think it was only just before our final league game we found out that I think it was off the national leagues, the teams that were at the bottom of the national leagues, there was more getting pushed down into East structure.
Yeah.
So that put more teams into East 1, and just the pushback meant that to keep the leagues even, that another one needed to go down in East 3 to keep East 1, East 2 at the numbers that they should be.
Of course, the plus side of all this is that we have 4 Borders teams in East League 3. So we've got Duns and Hawick Linden, obviously, Earlston and Galloway M.
That's right, yeah. That helps as well, because I think nowadays a lot of the clubs down at their kind of level, it is harder to get teams to go away, get boys, especially if boys have got jobs on a Saturday and stuff like that. The further you go, the harder it becomes. So if we're going up to Edinburgh and beyond, it can be tough at times. So having these 4 local clubs, well, three matches, 3 teams for us to play, it's tremendous. And we've always had a good relationship with Earlston and Galloway M, because the last few years we've been in the league above, but we always play them in friendlies. So that's been great. And Duns, we've played a lot over the last few years. We've been in the same league quite often. So they're a great wee club as well. And I think from their point of view, they probably needed to go down just to kind of stabilise and baseline and work their way up again. So I think they'll be beginning to work their way up as well. So whilst we've gone down, and the hope is that we can get back up, it's not got to be easy. Everybody's got to be competing, and looking at it last year, Edinburgh Northern were up near the top.
Good team, aren't they? They beat Earlston, of course.
Yeah. And Earlston were going really well for a while, but just kind of tailed off towards the end of the season, I think. So yeah, it's not got to be easy, but it'll be great to just get good competitive games, and if we can get back to winning more games than what we were last season, that breeds confidence, and I think it all helps.
And there's a great camaraderie, isn't there, between the players and the squad as well. And we were just talking earlier on, of course, to young Kieran Murphy, who's former player now, sadly, but he's doing some great work behind the scenes, and he organises Blackpool trip for you. You've got a Portugal one coming up as well, and every club needs a Kieran Murphy. And a Gary Alexander, of course.
Well, I'll certainly give far more credit to Kieran than take any for myself, because I think committee men are just like players nowadays. It's harder to get them, harder to keep them, harder to get ones that are completely committed and willing to put in a whole load of work. And some of the committee, it has been ageing, and that becomes a worry for ourselves and others as well. So to get a young guy like Kieran coming in and just getting absolutely stuck in, getting his hands dirty, it's tremendous. And if you've got somebody with enthusiasm, which he's full of, it just creates a buzz. And when things are happening and people within the club see things are happening and they're getting done, it creates a feel-good factor, basically.
It certainly does. Well, a lot of cheering going on in the background, and there's some big boys on the Langham side, and they're kind of cruising through the Duns players at the moment. Trail of bodies on the ground here on this artificial surface, but latest score I think is 31-19, so it's a pretty competitive Pool B, isn't it,
yes,
Gary?
Aye, yeah. I think there's been more tighter games in that one. The Quins in Langham in particular, it was a real tight one. So it is better to get closer games. There's been one or two kind of mismatches, which isn't the greatest, but I think all the teams will be happy to be getting that run out today and getting the cobwebs blown away.
Absolutely, and get back into a rugby frame of mind. But I'm going to turn the subject now to one of our favourite subjects, which is programmes, rugby programmes, because you're a big collector of programmes, so am I as well. And of course we've been very concerned lately, haven't we, about the fact that a lot of these international matches don't have programmes anymore. I remember famously France against Scotland in the Six Nations, 80,000 people, and yet they didn't bother to put a programme out, which is unbelievable. Here at Hawick Linden, you actually buck the trend completely, and today's Sevens programme is sensational. You've actually got a story to tell, a flashback, and all sorts of wonderful information. And that's really important, isn't it? To, again, Hawick Linden, to me, have got the best actual programme, because you change it every other week.
It was something that was started a number of years ago. It's when we actually joined the regional leagues from the Border District League, and at that time we knew our expenses were going to increase, buses in particular, and we looked at a few different avenues that we could start to generate more income, and programme was one of them. At that time, John Beattie and Sons, the Undertakers, who the original Jock Beattie was a founding player of the club, was the first international out of the Linden, and his family business, they when I asked if they would do an advert, Rob Beattie, the Jock's son who ran the business at that time, he said, have you got anybody printing it? I says, we've not got that far. He says, well, I can do it. Brilliant. Did it for nothing. So all of the advertising was income. But we moved on. It was a bit of hassle manually folding and inserting pages, so we get them professionally printed by Richardson's in Hawick, who do a tremendous job.
I was going to say, because it's all glossy throughout, and every page, every time that you go out on the park for a home game, it's a brand new programme from start to finish, and you obviously love putting all that stuff together.
Well, that's it, and it kind of goes back to the Kieran Murphy thing, that if clubs have got somebody within it who's willing to do a job, whether it's run the website, whether it's doing the social media, whatever it might be, if you've not got somebody with enthusiasm for a particular topic, one club will be better at it than somebody else. So because I'm quite enthusiastic about programmes, then it doesn't feel like a hassle to me. But we've never lost sight of the fact that it was to generate income, and we didn't go along the road some of the clubs who put together, as you say, a big advertising shell, essentially, because the more pages, the bigger your print costs. So we try and keep it a bit smaller, so that the actual print costs aren't too high, but the advertising income covers everything. So we do make money off them. And that's one of the key things. And it's nice to put stuff in. And there is a bit of story with the look back today, because the trophy, I don't know if we spoke about that with
Not
Kieran.
yet, so I was going to ask you about that.
But the trophy itself, the story behind that is that there used to be Hawick Charity Sevens, which originally started in 1960, but in 1966 Hawick Round Table donated a trophy to be played for the winners, and the tournament was all just teams from within Hawick. It used to be works teams, then it used to be teams that were selected by players. So you used to have internationalists who'd have put a team together. Jim Rennick would have a team, Colin Deans would have a team, and it petered out. 1987 was the last time it was played, and it was only relatively recently Derek Tate for Hawick Youth Rugby was in the bank in Galashiels, and the person in the bank was aware he had a connection with rugby. He says, I think we've got something here in the vault that might be of interest to you. Lo and behold, it was the Hawick Charity Sevens trophy. The Volunteer Cup was its name, because the tournament was played here through the 60s, 70s until it finished. So it ended up, it had been in a vault for 37 years.
Wow.
And Derek obviously got back to Hawick Round Table. They had a discussion about it, and they thought, well, the right place for it to go would be back to the Volunteer. And they gave it back to the president, John Tate, and we felt, well, what better time to use it would be for the Sevens today. So it was nothing that was planned, it just all nicely came together.
Oh, what a lovely story, isn't it?
And as I say, going back to the programme, I actually had the programme from 1966, so that was reproduced, and it shows some of the names of the guys that were
impressive,
playing back
wasn't
then.
it?
And I actually had Rob Welsh here, who was a Linden internationalist in the 60s. He got capped in 1968, and he stopped me earlier and he says, it's lovely seeing my name in the programme for 1966. So there you go, an internationalist 2 years later, and he was playing in a tournament like that here in the Volunteer.
And I was going to say about this particular tournament, it's great to see your Walker-Burns and your Langhams and Duns and all these clubs who don't normally get a chance to play sevens rugby. Some of them do, but some of them don't. And something like this is obviously, you've had no call-offs today. You've had everyone helping each other. If there's a couple short, then people have waded in and helped them out. But the whole atmosphere here, and at the moment that's a pretty packed stand that we've got here. And can you see this being built on possibly in the future?
I think we'll try and walk before we run, but I think just going by what it's been like so far today, Stuart, it's certainly been a success. I think it'll be interesting once we get to the business end of the sevens and see who comes out on top. But I think if the teams that have competed today have found it worthwhile, then I'm sure we'll be giving it another go. The very slight concern initially was that for the teams here, I think for all of them, their first contact hit out of the season is sevens, and that's tough.
It certainly is.
I think the first contact of the season is always tough, but sevens is harder than anything. But we deliberately made it squads of 12, unlimited rolling subs, because we knew teams would want to try and get as many players game time. There might be some tired bodies needing replaced, so we tried to make it flexible in that sense. So if that all has worked, then I'd like to think we can build on it. But I think being realistic as well, just keeping the number of competing teams around about the 8, because the more you invite, the higher the risk of teams not being able to turn up, because that happens so often nowadays. And we're very grateful that every club that committed to coming has stuck with it and is here today, and it's brilliant. We appreciate their support.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to talk to you, Gary. I'm sure we'll be talking throughout the season when we get back on Rugby Radio. Of course, we're at the Marooned at Sevens next week. That's at Netherdale Gala Sevens taking place there, and that's going to be a 12-team competition, and we'll be on air from 4 o'clock all the way through till 8. 4 hours of a fantastic tournament, and let's hope they get the weather as well, like they've had here. But well done to everyone involved here at Hawick Linden, and we'll talk to you later. All the best.
Stuart. And just before I go, a thank you to you for your support. It's tremendous to have you here and given the publicity for our club and for rugby at this level.
Thank you very much. Well, it's just slotted in beautifully, actually, in between the Peebles run last week and obviously the Gala Sevens next week. So great to come down. Let's hope that you keep it in this slot, and we'll probably do more next year, which will be fantastic. But thank you very much anyway.
Great. Thanks, Stuart.
So there we are. That's Gary Alexander, former president of Hawick Linden. Always good to come down here. We always get a great welcome, and Langham has definitely beaten Duns, so no doubt Gary will inform me of that when it comes through. At the moment it's Haddington against Hawick Harlequins in Pool B. At the moment it's 7-0 to Haddington, and we'll be back a little bit later on, David. Yes, welcome back to Hawick Linden. It's the volunteer park here in the Hawick Linden Sevens, which is progressing rather rapidly. We can tell you Pool A, Hawick Force have got through to the final. They beat Hawick Linden in that crunch match, ended 27 points to 14. Before that, Hawick Force and Hawick Linden demolished Walkerburn and Galloway M. So it was always going to be between those two. So Linden go into the Shield at around about 5:20, and 5:40 we'll be seeing Hawick Force. We're still undecided on the Pool B. It's either going to be Haddington or Hawick Quins. Hawick Quins have just finished their game against Duns, and I think they've got a victory over there as well. So it's going to come down to the match between Haddington and Langham very, very shortly to see if Haddington can do the clean sweep. Haddington beating Hawick Quins earlier on. Well, joining me at the back of the stand is the new signing for Hawick. That's Matt Reid, who's come via Boroughmuir, and of course a little bit of time with Selkirk as well. And good to see you.
You too.
And you're the only one out of all the Hawick players at the moment who are not actually drinking today, so you're the one who's been nominated for the interview.
Our 7 boys are still sober as well, at least.
They have to be at the moment. Yeah. But you're in Hawick. How did all that happen?
So I was aligned to Hawick through the player draft with Super 6 2 seasons ago. So I came down, was training a wee bit here and there, just during the off seasons and stuff, keeping myself fit. And then I actually started working down here as a development officer alongside Graham Hogg. And then when Super 6 finished, I was kind of trying to work out where to go, and it just kind of made sense, just with the aspirations the club has and the standard they're playing at the minute, and already just being down here working, kind of made sense to stay.
2 seasons been fantastic for the Hawick club, of course, just missing out sadly on the Premiership final, but they did finish top of the league, which hopefully in years to come will actually provide a trophy of some kind. You know, it's been a fantastic couple of years for them, and you've still managed to retain the likes of Sean Muir, the likes of Nicky Little. I think Lee Armstrong's also going to be having another season at the age of 65 or something. But it's great that the whole team is going to go for another year, and of course this season absolutely dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah. We're doing well. We've got good numbers down at training. We had a session today, and we've got 12 boys away playing sevens and still getting a solid session out. So looking to play 2 teams again with the sevens and a pre-season fixture next weekend. So our numbers are there, and we've got a good bit of experience, good bit of youth, trying to push the old boys through a bit of fitness stuff, but I think we've got a real good mix.
And it was such a long season for everyone last season, but Hawick in particular, going all the way through the cup final at Murrayfield against Embrackis, which they won, and then of course the big final where they just lost out to Curry Chieftains. It's been a long season. Have some of the boys been actually able to go away and have some holidays, some time away from rugby, because they certainly needed it?
Yeah, so it was a pretty long season for them. I think they didn't finish too far off the end of the Super 6 season, which finished pretty much started at the end of their season. Well, it was meant to anyway. But they got a solid 6 weeks off before our first kind of block of pre-season. But it's one of those boys who've been away here and there throughout. But I think just since we've kind of had a bit of a longer pre-season, it's kind of managed for boys to get away and not miss too much of the important stuff that we're getting into now. So
you're one of the new signings. Mark Glenn is also a signing, plays scrum half, and a very good utility back, of course, which is fantastic for any coach to have someone who can play in all sorts of positions. Tell us a bit more about you. What's your ideal position?
Kind of just anywhere across the back three, really. I've played mostly full-back growing up, played the whole season last season on the wing, and had a pretty successful season, so I'm quite comfy across the whole back three. Kind of just been back three since growing up, really. Maybe a wee bit of centre and a bit younger, but I think I've been lucky that I've had a fair bit of pace in me, so and make the most of it while I still can.
Absolutely, and of course great to just come and go straight in with a team like Hawick. Certainly, as I said, with the last couple of years they've been absolutely awesome, and there's no reason to suggest that that's not going to happen for another season as well coming on. And of course it all starts on the 31st. You've got obviously the match against Darlington next week, which is a friendly, but it all starts in earnest on August the 31st, and that's Embrackis, who will be wanting to get their own back after Murrayfield.
Yeah, it'll be a good test next weekend, and then we've got Percy Park up at home on the 24th. So real good 2 tests building into Accies, and seen Accies have got a game today, and their squads are looking pretty solid. So should be a pretty good first game roundup. I think Scottish Rugby have loaded up their first weekend trying to prove a point or something, I think. But there's some big matchups in that first week that'll really kind of shape the league almost. Like, I think Curry are playing Ayr that first weekend as well.
What a match up that's going to be at Millbrae. Ayr against Curry, Embrackis against Hawick, of course. Selkirk, I think, visit Mar from memory. Glasgow Hawks and Musselburgh are playing, and there's one other match which will be Melrose against Heriots, and of course Heriots, another team being talked up a lot.
Yeah, I think the chat definitely was Ayr had retained a lot of boys. And I think Heriots have retained a few as well, going Super 6 into their Prem team. So there'll be some real different kind of tests this season, where Heriots have been building the last few years with their boys stepping up to Super 6, but they've still always been quite strong in that Prem club. But it'll be interesting to see how strong they are this season with them combining now. So.
Well, the standard is obviously going to be up with all the infiltration of the Super 6 players, some of the best ones coming in to the Premiership, and of course some coming to National 1 as well, with the likes of Stirling County and Boroughmuir, your old club as well, also getting up there into the divisions as well, and be looking to kind of reboot the club effectively. So lots of interesting things going on. How is Hawick approaching this season? Because it is like no other.
Yeah, we had a kind of player-led meeting on Tuesday, and we understand that it's going to be a bigger challenge than it maybe has been for the boys the last couple of seasons, but they understand that we shouldn't use that as an excuse, so we're still aiming for that top 4, still trying to be the best club south of Edinburgh, so just really want to test ourselves with this new look Prem, so should be interesting to see how other teams go, but we don't want to drop our standards because other teams are getting better, so want to challenge the teams. I think a few boys kind of chat was that Hawick could have competed at that Super 6 level, so it'd be nice to see kind of it put into action, see where we kind of would have matched up if that did happen.
Well, it's good to catch up with you. I'm sure we'll be having lots of chatter throughout the season. It's going to be a very long season as well, and it all kicks off for Hawick, obviously. August the 31st, we'll be there at Rayburn Place as well with Hugh Brown. He's covering that one for us. It's going to be a fantastic day on Rugby Radio, and obviously we'll be having people at Millbrae as well. Sam Matthews going to Millbrae to cover Ayr and Curry. We've also got reporters round the other grounds as well, so can't wait for that. August the 31st. The very best of luck to you, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
There we are. That's Matt Reid from the new signing of Hawick via Selkirk, and also Boroughmuir, of course, before that. And he's certainly a one to watch in the new player signing, Mark Glenn being another one. And there will be others as well, which we will no doubt be party to in the next few weeks or so. So I'll be back here, in fact, round about 6:10 time for a roundup of what's actually happened. We can tell you, as I say, that Hawick Force have made it to the final, and they're looking to retain the trophy that they won 5 years ago. This is the first time this event has happened for 5 years. Hawick Linden are in the Shield final, and who they actually play and who Hawick Force play in the final is still to be decided, but it's looking like it's either going to be Hawick Quins or Haddington, but Langham are still in the mix as well, so a lot of intrigue left. But for now, let's hand you back to the vinyl frontier and David Henderson. Yes, welcome back to the Volunteer Park here at Hawick, and the sun has shone all day. It's been a fantastic tournament, a big crowd. What more could you want? Some great rugby on the park as well. And I guess you want to know who won the trophy. Well, I can tell you it was the hot favourites actually. Hawick Force beat Haddington 17-7. It was 5-0 at half-time, so Haddington certainly caused a few problems for Hawick Force, but it was Hawick Force who retained that trophy, and of course the first time we've had the Sevens down here for 5 years, and it's been quite an entertaining affair. In the Shield, it was a derby between Hawick Linden and Hawick Quins. It went one way, 38-0, and I've got Kieran Murphy with me, the chief organiser. There's been a lot of people obviously involved, but certainly the plaudits, talking to people, have come to this young man here, and you'll be very, very satisfied.
I'm very satisfied with that. It's been a great day, great numbers, and the sun's shining, it brings more people out. I've had nothing but positive talk from everyone from today, and even better, the Linden winning the Shield competition, and obviously another Hawick club winning the Cup competition, so it just shows the talent in the town at the minute.
Player of the tournament?
Tom Huggin.
Tom Huggin, yes.
So
Hawick Linden.
I don't want to seem biased, but the
referees chose it.
It was picked by the referees. I have to say mentions to the centre for Haddington, probably Lewis Ferguson, and well, obviously Liam Bugwas for Hawick Linden. I think they on the day were the other three stand-up players, but it's been a great day, Stuart. It's been good.
There's some great try scored, some great talent as well. I mean, we know in Pool A it was always really going to be Hawick Force and Hawick Linden, very, very strong. And I think that match between Hawick Linden and Hawick Force was almost a final in itself.
It was a final. We kind of built it up as like that was a semi-final, leading to the final. But at the end of the day, I'm quite happy with the outcome. I'd rather the boys come away with a shield, a trophy, instead of probably picking up a silver medal. So it has worked out well, but we would love to win our tournament, of course, but we've came away with the next best time, and that's all we can ask for.
You know what you should have done? You should have fixed your draw, shouldn't you? Because that's the popular thing at the moment.
Well, that's the highlight. Folk can say, oh, you put 2 bad teams in your group and things like that, but if I fixed the draw, why would I put Hawick Force in the pool?
Exactly.
And with 2 pools, you can't win either way. You either have 2 Hawick teams in one or 2 Hawick teams in another, or the unfortunate thing, you have all 3 Hawick teams in the same pool. So at the end of the day, we drew the short straw and drew the tournament favourites, but...
No, it was great, and of course the support you had down here was fantastic, and it's great because you've almost kind of got the right position now for the future, that the second Saturday in August you can fit just nicely in between the Maroon Gala and of course the People's one.
Literally for now, after how today's went anyways, it will be a permanent fixture in the rugby calendar.
Fantastic.
I hope that maybe another sort of top 8 side doesn't put their tournament on back to the August tournament, and we can use this as a platform for days ahead, because like I say, it seems like from the word of mouth that everybody's enjoyed themselves the day. They've loved the free bouncy castle for the kids, the cheap entry, because at the end of the day we want to keep it as cheap as possible and get as many people through the doors as we can, because at the end of the day you're not a club without folk, and that's what we're all about. We're a family run club, and to be fair, all the players, all the committee and that, we're like a family. It's everybody sticks together and we all have the same goals.
And of course plenty of rugby in the town, as we know, the Linden, we've got the Quins, we've got the Fours, we've got the Hawick, big team, and plenty underneath that as well. And it was great to see the Hawick first team actually come out here for a bit of a social and support the event as well.
Aye, definitely. Obviously they've brought numbers. They've been hot tournament favourites, and like you say, the last 2 games are a bit tougher for them, but they've came down, had their social. It's quite unlikely that a club like Hawick probably doesn't have a 15s game a day in the run up to probably quite an important season with all these other clubs working, but the way it's turned out, they've came up and they've enjoyed themselves, and they're well on with the drinks, so it seems like they're having a good day.
Yes, well, I was going to be talking to Sean Muir, but he had 8 pints, so a whole gallon, and probably best to keep away from the microphone. You obviously haven't had a chance to drink yet, have you?
Well, I've had a few throughout the day. I've had quite a few buy me drinks, which is always nice.
Well, you can always handle yours better than Sean Muir, clearly.
Well, so like I say, I've had a few drinks. I'm certainly going to have a few more now. Everything's done, and I've kind of chilled out a wee bit, but it's taken a lot of organising, but I'm glad I've done it. So the season starts for the club, as far as the league's concerned, on September the 7th, and you've got a home match? We've got a home match against Edinburgh Northern. Yes. They were probably unlucky not to be promoted for East 3 last season. They lost their last game against a team further down the divisions, but you never know if a team like the Medics have maybe brought boys in or whatnot, but can they win the East Bowl? They'll be a strong side. Coming into this season, we probably looked at Edinburgh Northern, Earlston. It's probably the 2 clubs that are most likely to give us a challenge up the top, because that's where we hope to be. You never know, like other clubs could have really picked up numbers, and you just...
It's an unknown quantity at the start of the season, isn't it?
It's always an unknown quantity. Like you never know what another club's going to bring, what they're going to pick up, what managers, coaches, players. It's for the first 7 games of the league. You're just kind of finding out teams and kind of basing results. Like you do get a lot of footage. It's not like these professional teams and like the top 8 teams that can watch how the teams have got on every week. We're turning up blind every week. We don't know what a team's like. Yeah.
What's the rest of the pre-season going to look like for Hawick Linden? You've obviously got some silverware to put in the cabinet, which is really nice. What's the next couple of weeks?
So we've got we're playing Largham away. Next week. So we've got to play with them next week. We're going to be playing Selkirk the week after here. Obviously, so a couple of tough games. We usually play Galway and Earlston have been in a different league, so this will be a step up for the boys, but one for the coach to get down, because we've had 38 different boys training, so it's fitting all the boys in to get a good amount of game time over the games to really prove themselves for the 7th. The 31st, we did maybe have a fixture, and we asked maybe Walkerburn for a seconds game, so to speak. Yeah. But what's happened is they've actually got a fixture and an AGM and everything that day to hopefully sort their club out. I'm not too sure what's happening there, but I hope it's positive.
Yes.
I do hope it's positive, but we've lent them 5 players today and gone by a couple of the players. I don't know what they're saying, but I really hope they can pick things up and get everything sorted.
It's just good to see the black and red stripes on the pitch today, wasn't it?
That's brilliant, and they've been rewarded. First 2 games very tough, probably playing the 2 toughest teams in the tournament, because I certainly think if we were in the other pool, we'd maybe likely have met Hawick Force in the final, but It's great they got a try against Galway, and you can even just tell by the reaction to the players. They were just chuffed to get over the line.
Yeah.
It's great, and I hope more people sort of around that area, and kind of, because it is a bit of a tough area to get players. It's in the middle of nowhere, and I hope even like folk from Innerleave and Peebles, and even folk that maybe aren't getting games at kind of Gala and Selkirk and that, maybe travel down there and just give them a helping hand.
Brilliant. Well, it's been a real pleasure to come down, so congratulations on the achievement of getting it on, and a well-run tournament it was as well. It goes to Hawick Force, though, the trophy back again after 5 years, and the future is certainly looking good down here for this tournament to carry on for the foreseeable future. So my thanks to all the people who have taken part today. That includes Gary Alexander, and of course to Kieran Murphy as well, and all the players. And we will be back next week, of course, at 4 o'clock for the Gala Sevens, the Marooned Gala Sevens from Netherdale. 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock. It's going to be a late one over there as well, and we'll be joined by Ewan Welsh and Sam Matthews and Hugh Brown and the rest of the team as well. But for now, from the Volunteer Park here in Hawick, we'll turn you back to the studio.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.